Hi everybody and welcome to The Mighty Companions. I'm Reverend Yolanda, singer, songwriter, drag queen, and interfaith minister.
And I'm your host, Reverend Glenn Morton Ganaway, integral mentor.
And together we are
Mighty Companions Ministries,
an edutainment ministry whose purpose is to co-create community that inspires us all to live the calling of Spirit.
With A Course in Miracles as the primary guide, we co-create worship, entertainment, gatherings, lectures, and workshops.
You can find us on the web at www.themightycompanions.com.
And every other Saturday here on Livestream and the Tau Fellowship. We are so happy that you are here. And welcome to the Mighty Companions. My name is Reverend Glenn Morton Ganaway, and I'm an integral mentor and an ordained interfaith minister. That means I'm going to be bringing to you a chapter from A Course in Miracles, chapter 10 today, a chapter 10 from A Course in Miracles, from an interfaith perspective and from an integral perspective. Now, you might be familiar with interfaith, but you might not be familiar with integral. And integral just means that I'm going to be giving you a way of looking at these ideas that the Course in Miracles presents, these spiritual truths and spiritual ideas in 4 different ways. It's an integral lens, and I'm doing this as a way of emphasizing that it is a grid. It's a cross, actually, a plus sign with 4 different categories. And I'm going to be bringing to you the Course in Miracles with an emphasis on these 4 different categories. The way that we understand the Course in our head, and intellectual understanding, and a kind of a self-talk, and a spiritual, purely spiritual understanding of these concepts. We're going to be talking about the felt sense of these concepts, how it feels to present these ideas and to walk these ideas in a body, and what they physically do in the world. The structure of A Course in Miracles we're going to talk about today, and the way that it is structured, the way it moves forward, and the structures that we live in that maybe support it or oppose it. So healthy structures and unhealthy structures. But mostly we'll be talking about, and what is the truth of all of us, is that we're all one, right? That's called the we space in integral. So I'm going to be emphasizing the fact that we are all one, and that our relationships are what really matter. Our relationships to God, our relationships to each other, and this unique space that we create together is so very valuable, and so very rich for understanding and practice. So, again, we're going to be looking at chapter 10 in Course in Miracles, and this is the book that I use. This is the volume that I use. So, if you have your book, you might want to turn it to page 181 of chapter 10. It's called The Idols of Sickness. Now, this is so very cool. I'm really beginning to be just really jazzed about A Course in Miracles again, because I've begun, after my 6th or 7th year teaching this course, and I don't know how many times I've read it, but I came to the course this year with a brand new understanding that was kind of revealed to me. So I'm really excited about bringing this angle to you, and it goes so well with integral thought. I'm really pleased to say that that if you're familiar with Joseph Campbell's teachings about the hero's journey, have you read the hero's journey, the God with a thousand faces and such? Well, he proposes, it's called the universal myth, and it's called the hero's journey. You may have heard of that. And the Course in Miracles is following along with the hero's journey. I was so pleased to find this out. So we have been looking at the way these spiritual concepts, as they're presented in the Course in Miracles. Chapter 1 kind of brings us and unpacks our understanding of what miracles are. That's kind of the first thing she does, is she lays bare our misconceptions about what a miracle is in salvation and crucifixion and those kind of ideas. So to take us outside of what a traditional understanding of a of those concepts in the Western world is, which is why I think that the Course in Miracles is one of the best texts for teaching a non-dual, that means not two, a non-dual awareness in the Western canon, in the Western culture. So, because we are swimming in these ideas of crucifixion and resurrection and salvation and atonement. So, I'm going to be putting together with these Course in Miracles the way that in understanding within the arc of the hero's journey. So we start out, she unpacks those ideas, and then we find out that we want something more out of life. The teacher appears, then we are transferred to a different land, then we meet our companions, and then this week we get sick. Do you remember when, or we go to sleep, or we get tempted? Do you remember at the time in The Wizard of Oz where they're going through the poppy field and they fall asleep? That's kind of where we are in the course right now. But this is called the idols of sickness, because we use sickness as a way, our understanding of sickness, or our judgment and the meaning we place in sickness, in order to get us off our path and move us away from the direction of God's will for our lives, which is our will for our lives, which is creating the more beautiful world that we know is possible, which is bringing our passion and joy out into the world. So when we get off of that path, we experience what the Course calls sickness. Now, we're not talking just about a physical sickness. We're talking about ways we mentally sabotage ourselves. We're talking about physically, the way we physically sabotage ourselves with our thinking. So we can look at this. We can read the Course in Miracles, and that's what we do here at with the help of the Doves for Peace and the Tao Fellowship. We look at 12.8 pages from the previous week. So it's been going almost exactly chapters. Now, there are 31 chapters and there are 52 weeks of the year, so obviously some chapters are going to have 2 episodes like we've done with chapter 7, but chapter 10 is actually a pretty quick little chapter here. So we get to do chapter 10 in pretty much one fell swoop. We're actually into chapter 11 a little bit, a couple of pages, but we'll be doing a lot. We'll be doing a little bit more of that now next week, and I can't wait to share with you what chapter 11 has in store for you. But I want to emphasize that I'm going to be at the Course in Miracles convention here in New York City this coming weekend. So if you're going to be around, I would really, really, really enjoy seeing you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to miracles-course.org, and they have organized, there's a lot of organizing and a lot of information about the Course in Miracles convention here in New York City at the New Yorker Hotel, no doubt. So if you're going to be around, again, my name is Glenn Ganaway, Reverend Glenn Ganaway, Integral Mentor, and I will be, I'll have a camera in my hand because I'm going to be asking people about their experiences with Ken Wapnick. Ken Wapnick is one with the Foundation for Peace that actually publishes the Course in Miracles, this edition. So he passed recently, and in this past year, and so I'm going to be asking people with the help for Avaya Media and the lovely Ike Allen, thank you very much, of Avaya Media, A-V-A-I-Y-A, Avaya Media, to be helping Avaya Media put together a little bit of footage about people's experiences and their memories and stories about Ken Wapnick and Ken Wapnick's work with the Course in Miracles. So I hope we see you there. And I also want to congratulate my husband on his MAC Award again. Reverend Yolanda won't be here today, but we're always looking forward to the end of the month when we get to have Reverend Yolanda's old-time gospel hour. We'll hear some singing and some live singing and sharing from Reverend Yolanda at that time. But at the bottom of the hour, I've prepared a little video that we're going to take a look at that goes along with today's lesson. So we're going to hear Reverend Yolanda today express these ideas in a song called Love and Light, because that's the antidote to sickness. So let me tell you what's going on here. Now, If you are familiar with how we do things around here, you will remember that the course tells us how to read it. And I like to remind us as we begin exactly where the Course stands. So that's why there aren't any Course in Miracles churches. That's why there isn't. This is why there are no. What I'm about to read you is why there are no Course in Miracles churches. Why there are no kind of a Course in Miracles orthodoxy about how this is to be taught, because of what I'm going to read to you now. It kind of lets us off the hook. It tells us how it's to be read. It kind of shows us the perspective or the way that the Course tells us we should be thinking about it, reviewing it, and living it in our lives. So I'm going to read to you, and it's very important. So the overall aim of these exercises is to increase your ability to extend these ideas. You will be practicing to include everything. This will require no effort on your part. The exercises themselves meet the conditions necessary for this kind of transfer. Some of the ideas the workbook and the exercises contain you will find hard to believe, and others may seem to be quite startling. This does not matter. You are merely asked to apply the ideas as you are directed to do. You are not asked to judge them at all. You are asked only to use them. It is their use that will give them meaning to you and will show you that they are true. Remember only this. You need not believe the ideas. You need not even welcome them. And some of them you may actively resist. None of this will matter or decrease their efficacy. But do not allow yourselves to make exception in applying the ideas the workbook and the exercises contain. And whatever your reactions to the ideas may be, use them. Nothing more than that is required. Nothing more than that is required, other than we take a look at these ideas and attempt to place them in practice in our lives. That's why I try to put them together in 4 different ways: how they physically feel, how we think about them, the structures that they're in, and the way you and I can relate and practice these ideas together. Together, together, together. We are together, we are one, and this is what the Course teaches, and this is what our home is. So, as we do that, if you're following along, we're actually just past day 100 of Course in Miracles if you're doing the lessons. So I'd like to take a look at do a little bit more emphasis here on lesson 101. It's quite lovely. It's called God's Will for Me is Perfect Happiness. Do you believe that? God's will for me is perfect happiness. God's will for me is perfect happiness. Today we will continue in the theme of happiness. This is the key idea to understanding, get this, what salvation means. Happiness is the key idea of salvation. This is what she says about it. You still believe it asks for suffering. You still believe that salvation asks for suffering as penance for your sins. And she uses the word sins in quotes. This is not so. Yet you must think it so while you believe that sin is real and that God's Son can sin. The idea I always express of the way the Course of Miracles talks about sin is the idea that you can break God. The idea that you can get it so wrong that somebody has to die or suffer in order to make it right again. That's an erroneous idea, and that is an idea that the Course offers us to put in practice in our lives to see if we find that that is true. Sin is not real. The idea that sin that we have in a lot of the Western world is that we can break God, that we can get it so wrong that somebody has to die, be killed, tortured, and murdered in order to make up for it. That something has to be done. Somebody has to be blamed and thrown under the bus if we make a mistake or we get something wrong or we make an error. And that's not what she talks about here. Would you seek out such savage punishment? Who would not flee salvation and attempt in every way he can to drown the voice which offers it to him, right? If it requires sacrifice, why then would he try to listen and accept its offering? If sin is real, its offering is death, and meted out in a cruel form to match the vicious wishes in which sin is born. Sin is born from the idea of vicious wishes to get even or to extract revenge. The erroneous idea that we call justice. That's not even justice. Justice would be a just thing, would be the correct thing, would be a complete and utter understanding of all that is, so that a correction could be made. And I don't think human beings are quite able to do that. So we can let go of the errors that others make. We can forgive ourselves for the errors we make. We do not sin, according to A Course in Miracles. We make errors, and errors can be corrected. How about that? Sins cannot. They have to be paid for. So she says, God's will for you is perfect happiness because there is no sin, and suffering is causeless. Suffering is causeless. Joy is just, and pain is but the sign you have misunderstood yourself. And we're going to get into that a little bit greater today with the idols of sickness. So that's why I'm reading this to you today, for understanding that if we experience pain, it means that we have a misunderstanding. That doesn't make us bad. It makes us human. Joy is just, and pain is but the sign you have misunderstood yourself. It is a sign. It is pointing to the direction that we can seek out greater understanding. Fear is not the will of God, but turn to it in confidence that it will set you free of all the consequences sin has wrought in its feverish imagination. God's will for me is perfect happiness. There is no sin, and it has no consequence, because it is not true. It's an illusion. God's will for me is perfect happiness. This is the truth because there is no sin. This is the truth because there is no sin. So let's take a look at what the Course says about sickness in chapter 10, page 181 of volume 3 of the Course in Miracles. It begins, I've edited out little sections so we can talk about the main points in this. She goes in great detail, and I can't emphasize enough how important it is, if you want to do the Course in Miracles, to read it. But the other really cool thing is you don't have to. A lot of folks don't read the Course in Miracles, but they do listen to folks like me. They'll listen to podcasts. They'll go to conventions. They'll go to church and listen to other folks. So it's not required that you read the Course in Miracles. What it says here, the requirement is that you apply the ideas. Nowhere does it say at the beginning that you have to read the Course in Miracles, but I would suggest you do. It's just a suggestion, because we're here to apply these ideas and become the greater creators that we know is possible. The greater creator that God created in the world as an expression of love and joy and sharing. God created nothing besides you, and nothing besides you exists, for you are a part of him, it says in the introduction. What except him can exist? Nothing beyond him can happen, because nothing except him is real. See, that's a statement about non-duality. Your creations, see, we're creators and we have creations. You have creations. What are those? Those are our relationships, okay? And what our passions are in the world will manifest in relationships. Your creations add to him, add to God as you do, but nothing is added that is different, because everything has always been. This relationship, we just strengthen and find new and interesting ways to express it in form. Maybe you can be. What can upset you except the ephemeral? And how can the ephemeral be real if you are God's only creation and he created you eternal? Your holy mind establishes everything that happens to you, Please know this, your holy mind establish everything that happens to you. Every response you make to everything, every response you make to everything you perceive is up to you, because your mind determines your perception of it. We are telling our, she's going to go into this a little bit later, but we are telling our bodies what to do and how to act and what to do, not the other way around, although it feels that way, and we need to act on our belief system. And we can act, let me try to say this a little bit better. We are only ever seeing perception in a human body. So we are able to act on what is real. I'm the holy child of God. But our perception is that we may need to take medicine in order to get better, because we have placed the belief in medicine to get us better. We're making us better, but we take this outside thing, take the pill or the medicine or the injection, and we get better. But we're doing it inside. We're doing it ourselves. And like I always say, the truth is, you're happening to the world. Not the world is happening to you. So that's the introduction. We are responsible. Everything that's happening to us, we are choosing. So that's an idea. We don't have to believe it, but we could see if we can apply it in our lives. Section 2 is, you do not know your creations simply because you would decide against them, as long as your mind is split. An attack is what you have created. And to attack what you have created is impossible, right? We've created these relationships with each other, and attacking a relationship is actually impossible. We can pretend we can do it, but remember that it is impossible for God to attack you or to attack the loving relationships that you have. The law of creation is that you love your creations as yourself, and because they are a part of you, our passion in the world is our creation. Of course, we have this relationship with it. Everything that was created is therefore perfectly safe, right? Things that are shared are created. So we are sharing our lives, we are sharing our passion, we are sharing our relationship. Those things are perfectly safe because the laws of God protect it by his love. Any part of your mind that does not know this has banished itself from knowledge. And because it has not met its conditions, who could have done this but you, right? You can abandon knowledge, but you can't get rid of it. Recognize this gladly, for in this recognition lies the realization that your banishment is not of God, and therefore does not exist. Your banishment is not of God. I love that. So if you find yourself in a lonely desert place, and we're feeling like, oh, there's no God, and everything's awful, take responsibility for where you are. Turn toward the light. Turn toward that inner spark in your altar. Say a prayer of, help me, I need some guidance around this, and start walking toward your passions, and start walking toward your joy. We're there. We're there in your heart, all of us. The oneness and the wholeness is there in your heart to help and assure you that all is well, that we love you, you are safe, loving, and lovable. So know that you're not alone. I'm actually with you all the time. Jesus said that, but it's true if we're all one. There's only one life happening here. And I'm in your heart as you are in mine. The decision to forget is the second section, and that I'd like to highlight here. The highlighted point is very, very simple. We are moving quite rapidly. It's a very short chapter, about 12.8 pages. To remember is merely to restore your mind of what is already there. How comforting. You do not make what you remember. You merely accept what is already there, but was rejected. Remember that idea about knowledge? The ability to accept truth in this world is the perceptual counterpart to creating in the kingdom. Okay? The ability to accept the truth in this world is the perceptual counterpoint, how we experience creating in the kingdom. The kingdom of God, heaven, now, the oneness. God will do his part if you will do yours, and his return in exchange for yours is the exchange of knowledge for perception. Isn't that lovely? We could exchange our opinions for what is real. We actually can experience that in the body, it says here. Where our decision to forget is a decision to deny knowledge. Nothing is beyond his will for you. Know this, nothing is beyond God's will for you. If you've got it if you have the passion to do it, it is yours to do, and the universe will support your place in it. But signify your will to remember him, and behold, he will give you everything but for the asking. Everything that you need to accomplish what you want to do in the world. And I know you don't want everything. What you want is to be able to do what you want in the world, to be able to create and share your passion and joy, and to be able to share your presence and your gifts to the world. That is what we want, and we want everything that we need in order to do that. Maybe it's a camera, maybe it's a book, maybe it's knitting needles, maybe it's a pool, maybe it's pens and paper. Who knows? What we want, God will give you everything that you need because you are God's son. And it is yours to have because it's God's will that what? You be happy. God's will for you is perfect happiness. That perfection is exactly the happiness that you need right now, where everything is here for you. When you attack, you are denying yourself. You are specifically teaching yourself that you are not what you are. When you attack, you're teaching yourself that you're something less than the child of God. The third section is called the God of Sickness. The God of sickness. And don't we maintain that God sometimes with our ideas, and we create identities around the God of sickness and throw all kinds of money and understanding at our ideas of sickness. Now, we're not talking about a body. Sickness is, we're going to get into this a little bit, but sickness is a judgment about the way the body is. Sickness is a judgment about the way the world is. When it's in a body, we call it sick. When we don't like what's happening, we call it a sickness. We try to get rid of it or correct it in some way that it's not useful, because illusions don't correct illusions. Only truth corrects illusions. So she's offering us another explanation or another idea of what we're calling sickness and why it's an idol. So she's not talking about what your body is doing or not doing, whether you have all your limbs or ulcers or whatever we call these things, or you're losing your hair, or you've got your wheelchair, or whatever it is. That's not. The facts are you're whole and complete. That is the truth. And what we call sickness in this idol is what she's asking us to look at in this. To believe that the Son of God can be sick is to believe that a part of God can suffer. See, she's not talking about the facts of our bodies. She's talking about our choosing suffering. Love cannot suffer because it cannot attack. The remembrance of love, therefore, brings invulnerability to it. Do not side with sickness in the presence of the Son of God, even if he believes in it. For your acceptance of God in him acknowledges the love of God he has forgotten. And that's how we heal, knowing that the other person is not damaged or broken. Your recognition of God as a part of God reminds him of the truth about himself, and that he is denying. Would you strengthen his denial of God and thus lose sight of yourself, or would you remind him of his wholeness and remember your Creator with him? To believe a son of God is sick is to worship the same idol that he does. See, we're not talking about the nature of a body or the shape or the condition of a body. We're talking about the belief that you're not whole and well. And that is what creates these things in our bodies. It's not a problem, but it is a lack of understanding. It is trying to be something that we are not. It's not bad. It's a lack of an understanding, a lack of a way of applying an idea. It's not a sin. God created love, not idolatry. All forms of idolatry are caricatures of creation. Taught by sick minds too divided to know that creation shares power and never usurps it. Creation, what is creative, shares, does not usurp. Whatever is creative has power with, not power over. Creation is power with and sharing, not usurping or power over. Sickness is idolatry because it is the belief that power can be taken from you, right? Sick is idolatry because it is the belief that power can be taken from you. Yet this is impossible because you're a part of God, who is all power. A sick God must be an idol, made in the image of what its maker thinks he is. And that is exactly what the ego does to perceive the Son of God. A sick God, self-created, self-sufficient, very vicious, and very vulnerable. Does that describe a sick animal? They say, never approach a sick animal. They lash out. It is this idol that is this the idol that you worship? Is this the image you are vigilant to save? Are you really afraid of losing this? Some of us, yeah. Some of us are really afraid of losing our identity as a sick person, as a broken person. And we admire these people who we say, oh my God, you're so sick and broken and you do all these amazing things. They might not think they're sick and broken. Damaged beyond repair. I can't do what it is mine in the world to do. That's actually not true no matter what your shape of your body is. You have all the tools that you need to accomplish the world. You have everything. Being is having. When a brother is sick, it is because he is not asking for peace and therefore does not know he has it. So what's the answer? Ask for peace. And our understanding of that is how we are healed. The acceptance of peace is the denial of illusion. And sickness is an illusion. See, it's the opinions we have about what's happening in the world. Those opinions are illusion. That's the illusory world, our collection of opinions. Yet that we hold on to and we maintain, right? We get angry at people who don't share our opinions. We go to war about people who don't share our opinions. Our opinions are very, very destructive. Reality is not. Sickness comes from an opinion, is an opinion about the way things are. Yet every son of God has the power to deny illusions anywhere in the kingdom merely by denying them in himself. I can heal you because I know you. And this is the voice of Jesus Christ. I can heal you because I know you. I know your value for you. And it is this value that makes you whole. A whole mind is not adulterous, because I have only one message and it is true. I will heal you merely because I have only one message and it is true. Your faith in it will make you whole when you have faith in me. And that one message is, teach only love, for that is what you are. She says that earlier. Remember from, I think that is like chapter 2. Teach only love, because that is what you are. Love isn't an illusion. Love is reality. Okay. This is section 4, and we are going to come back to this, I think, right after we have a lovely musical break. All right. So this little bit of way of introduction is a song called Love and Light. It's off of Reverend Yolanda's Country Gospel Kirtan, Volume 1. And this is a brand new video she's created called Love and Light. I hope you like it, and I'll see you in about 4.5 minutes, okay? Talk to you then.
Oh, how about singing about love and light with a cover charge and a 2-drink minute? I'm living in love and light. Yes, I am. I'm living in love and light. Yes, I am. I'm living in the truth that love has healed my life, because I'm talking about, yes, I am talking about, I'm talking about love. I'm living in love and light. Yes, I am. Well, I'm living in the truth that love has healed my life, because I'm talking about, yes, I'm talking about, I'm talking about love, love and light. I'm just gonna preach a little now. I know how it is every now and then. You just get out there in the world and you feel like you're all alone. But let me tell you something. There's nothing to fear, because you are not alone. Just look deep inside yourself. Are you breathing? I ask you, are you breathing? Okay then, God is with you. There's nothing to fear. Just step out that door and walk into the world, and you're living in the truth that love has healed your life, because I'm talking about, yes, I'm talking about, I'm talking about love.
Hello and welcome back. You're here with the Mighty Companions. My name is Reverend Glenn Morton Ganaway, Integral Mentor, and you just got through listening to a cut from Reverend Yolanda's Reverend Yolanda's Country Gospel Kirtan, Volume 1, Love and Light. And you can find out more information, download that maybe, and buy the album and find out all kinds of goings on about Reverend Yolanda, and keep up with Yolanda World at www.yolanda.net. And you can find me at Glenn, Glen, Ganaway, GANAWAY.com. So we are here at chapter 10. We're actually up to page 187. We've done 7 pages in the last half hour, and we're going to take a look at the next like 5 or 6 pages, because I'm going to this is the kind of the meaty part of the chapter 10. The end. We're at the section called the end of sickness, and we are looking at chapter 10, which is called the idols. The idols of sickness, these opinions that must be maintained in order for our identity to be wrong, actually. So when we know who we are, no matter what happens to our bodies or what's going on, we are never sick. So that's kind of taking apart these ideas of for understanding what our opinion is and understanding what reality is, and they're not often the same thing. They can be, but they're not often the same thing. And when they're not, we suffer. When they're not, we have pain and suffering. So this is section 4. Section 4, there's only 6 sections in chapter 10. This is chapter 4. It's called chapter 10, section 4, called The End of Sickness. And this is what I've highlighted here. All magic, it says, all magic is an attempt at reconciling the irreconcilable. The irreconcilable. All religion is the recognition that the irreconcilable cannot be reconciled. That's kind of the paradoxical nature of what a religion is, and we understand that if you've been practicing a religion, there's a lot of paradox around. All magic is the attempt at reconciling the irreconcilable, reconciling the irreconcilable. All religion is the recognition that the irreconcilable cannot be reconciled. Sickness and perfection are not, sickness and perfection are irreconcilable. They are not the same thing. If God created you perfect, you are perfect. If you believe that you can be sick, you have placed other gods before him. God is not at war with the God of sickness you have made, but you are. He is the symbol of siding against God, the God of sickness, right? The God of sickness is the symbol of deciding against God. And you are afraid of him because he cannot be reconciled with God's will. I don't want to be sick. I need to do my things. I don't want to be sick. Well, don't be sick. You're perfect. The part of you that is with God and understands God is not and cannot be sick. Understand that our opinions about what is happening to our body and calling it sickness and saying that we cannot do it is called the idol of sickness. If you attack the idol of sickness, you will make him real to you. But if you refuse to worship him in whatever form he may appear to you and whatever you think you see, he will disappear into nothingness out of which he was made. So, don't call it a problem. It's not a problem. What's happening to us may be the truth, and there are facts, and we are going to take care of those facts. But know that pain and suffering are an option. But what is happening to our bodies is the result of how we think. Okay? And it's not a problem. It is ours to do. God's laws, we're under God's laws, and we're either going to practice God's laws and fulfill and live in ease and peace and joy and beauty, or we're going to try to create our own laws, in which there's going to be a bit of a problem there. God's laws will keep your mind at peace, because peace is his will. And his laws are established to uphold it. His laws are of freedom, but yours are the laws of bondage. Don't you find that sickness is a form of bondage? Here, and we know people that are sick that are not in bondage, so we know that that's not actually the truth, that it's just opinion. His are the laws of freedom, but yours are the laws of bondage. Since freedom and bondage are irreconcilable, like sickness and perfection, their laws cannot be understood together. The laws of God work only for your good, and therefore there are no other laws besides his. So whatever's happening to your body, whatever's happening in the world, whatever mentally is disturbing us is something that we're doing, and that if we understand it, we can train. If we understand what is actually happening, that we're creating it, we can choose to change our opinion about what it is for. It is for our good, it says. Everything else is merely lawless and is therefore chaotic. Yet God himself has protected everything he created by his laws. Fear not. Everything that is not under them does not exist. because we're either operating on the notion that our opinions are correct, or we're either not operating on the notion that God's laws are correct. The laws of chaos is a meaningless term. Creation is a perfectly awful. Creation is perfectly lawful, like lawful within the laws of God. But the chaotic is without meaning because it is without God. So even if you see chaos, there is what you would call chaos. Know that that's not true. You have given your peace to the gods you made, and they are not there to take it from you, and you cannot give it to you because they don't exist. Your are lovely, lovely, lovely opinions. You are not free to give up freedom, but only to deny it. Put that on a cross-stitch pillow. You are not free to give up freedom, but you are free to deny it. So your freedom might not depend on the shape of your body, the condition of your body. It's some kind of relationship to what you are calling healthy, not healthy, sickness, whatever. Might not be the case. You are free, period, end of sentence. You are whole, period, end of sentence. You are the child of God. We are one, and I know that you are whole and complete. So that is the answer. It comes very quickly. There's a story, tell you a little bit about the felt sense of this. I was a practice manager, and this gal came in, a practice manager for a physician office. It was one of the first 2 weeks I was there, and this gal, she was probably about 80 years old, rather feisty, and she lived to be almost 90, I think. But she had fallen and hit her face, and it looked like, well, she had a black eye, her teeth were out, so she had come directly to the office in order to get checked out. She didn't go to the emergency room, but she was at the office, and she was pretty beat up. She had gotten help. It'd been a few hours ago, so she was fairly calmed down, but she was really beat up. Her wig wasn't on. She had a black eye and like her mouth and everything. So when I saw her sitting in the waiting room, I said, "Oh my God, what did the other woman look like?" And the impression that she had like just been in a bar fight or something, this 80-year-old woman. She started laughing so hard that she was laughing and going, "Ow, ow," and laughing and "ow, ow." And then that made her laugh anymore, and she jumped up and she goes, "You're making me pee." So she was so delighted. She had told this story about how she hurt, how it was, and I'm sure she was in pain. It looked that way to me, but because there is pain, there doesn't have to be suffering, and maybe there doesn't even have to be pain. I offered her the perspective that she wasn't broken or damaged or weak. I offered just that idea to her, and it lightened everything up and gave everybody an excuse to be relaxed and not feel sorry for her. The last thing she really wanted is people to feel sorry for her. She already felt bad enough for falling, and she was in the doctor's office for that. So we got along really great after that, and she always reminded me of that. And so know that there is another perspective than our opinions of being broken, hurt, sick. There's another opinion out there, the opinion that it's fun to be you, that it's okay to do what you're going through. It's okay to have the body and have the experiences that you're having right now, and it doesn't make you sick, no matter what the facts are. You will never be sick. You aren't sick, and the condition of your body is not a problem for doing what you want to do or be or create in the world in this we space. But it sometimes feels difficult to do with our bodies, and we don't see anybody else that is able to do what we want to do with the body that we have, with the disease, the dis-ease that we have, the addiction we have, the voices in our head. It looks like, oh my gosh, I am sick and therefore I am limited. You may have created artificial boundaries around yourself, but it doesn't make it true that you cannot do what is yours to do in the world, which is what you want to do. And you have everything that you need, regardless. everything you need is in front of you to do what you need to do today for the will of God, regardless of our physical condition and what we're calling sickness. To do the other is to create an idol of sickness. Oh, this must be fed. I must do this, and it restricts me. And I have to go here. People have to feel sorry for me. I have to tell this story over and over and over again about how sick I am. Do you know anybody whose whole identity is their sickness? Do you know anybody whose disease or mental illness is their whole identity? Do you know anybody who has the same thing, but it isn't their identity? Might not be the truth. Might just be opinion. Anyway, what we're coming up to in chapter 5, and we've got just section 5 and section 6 here to go. Six here to go, but this is some of the meatiest parts of course. Actually, section 5 is the end of it. There are only 5 sections. I have been saying there are 6. Looks like there are only 5. Okay. You are free to give up freedom. You are not free to give up freedom, but only to deny it, comes in section 4. So section 5, the last part, the last section here, is called the denial of God. So and that's really what this idea of sickness is about. It's denying our happiness. It's denying our place in the mind of God. So, of course, Miracles offers us a different perspective. Listen, the rituals of God, the rituals of the God of sickness are strange and very demanding. Joy is never permitted, for depression is the sign of an allegiance to him. Right? Remember, I was talking a little bit about this. Depression means that you have forsworn God. I know this can be very touchy with some of us, but it's our opinions that we're talking about here. The way we think it's got to be, the meaning that we have for things. Depression means that you have forsworn God. Many are afraid of blasphemy, but they do not understand what it means. They do not realize that to deny God is to deny their own identity. And in that sense, the wages of sin is death. Right? It's a closed system. It's an entire world. They do not realize that they deny God and that they deny their own identity. And in this sense, the wages of sin is death. It pays you in death. It's like, okay, you get to be right. Here's your death. It doesn't make it true, but you get to have it your way. You can go all the way down that road if you want to. This sense is very literal. Denial of life perceives its opposite. The denial of life perceives its opposite, as all forms of denial replace what is with what is not. No one can really do this, but you can think you can, and believe to believe you have is beyond dispute. And God's never going to try to talk you out of this thing. He's not going to agree, but he's not going to talk you out of it. Holy Spirit is going to keep reminding you of the truth, but never going to enter this sickness with you. Do not forget, however, that to deny God will inevitably result in projection. And you will believe that others and not yourself have done this to you. Maybe your sickness has been caused by somebody else. Do not forget, however, that to deny God will inevitably result in projection. And you will believe that others and not yourself have done this to you. You must receive the message you give because it is the message that you want. So what message are you sending the world? You must receive the message you give because it is the message that you want. You may believe that you judge your brothers by the messages that they give you, but you have judged them by the message that you give them. They are actually showing up as the manifestation, as the projection of our belief systems. Okay? So if we believe that sick is a reason to feel sorry for somebody, then we will feel sorry for sickness and for sick people. And if we need if we fall apart and want excuses for not doing what is ours to do because we are sick, then we project that onto other people. He can't help it. He's sick. He has no use in the world because he's sick. Do not attribute your denial of joy to them, because that's what sickness is. It's a denial of joy. And remember that sickness is an opinion about a fact and not the truth that anything is wrong. You cannot see the spark in them that would bring the joy to you. When you're seeing somebody sick, you're not seeing the spark of joy in them. It is the denial of the spark that brings depression. What brings depression? The denial of the spark of God. I'm not God. I'm broken. I'm little. I'm small. I can't do this. And you can't either, you know. It is the denial of the spark that brings depression. For whenever you see your brothers without it, what does it say here? You are denying God. So we don't want to deny God. Denying God sort of is the thing that makes us, the thing that is making us sick. To deny God is a way of denying our identity. Do not perceive anything but God. Do not perceive anything. Do not perceive anything God did not create, or you will be denying him. Remember the story of Peter with denying God? He was denying that relationship, denying the creation, denying that they are one, denying that he knew anything that was going on. Do not perceive anything God did not create, or you are denying him. What did God create? He shared himself with all living beings. He created life and living and love and beauty in those, and love, beauty, joy, peace. If you're seeking any of those things, if you're not seeing any of those things in a person, you're seeing this one person that their sickness is blotting out your ability to see the spark of God in them. If their sickness is actually, you're using sickness in order not to see them as your brother or not to see them as your helpmate. His is the only fatherhood. God is the only fatherhood, and it is yours only because God has given it to you. See, we're creators. Ignore your gifts, your gifts to yourself are meaningless, but your gifts to your creations are like his because they are given in his name. Your creations is the way that you share your passion, your presence, and your self with others in relationship, like in relationship with me, like I'm sharing my relationship with God with you. I'm sharing my whole community with you, because as I stand before you, as I sit here in this chair in my apartment in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, I am sharing my whole community with you because I'm a product of this community, and that it practices together, and we bring this, and I'm the representative today for you, like you are representative of your community and everybody that has come before you that was necessary for your face in the world and for your place in the mind of God. That is why your creations are as real as his. Your creations are real. We are creators, and we create real things. Not opinions. We create real things. We create ways of being and sharing with each other. Those things are real. When you're lying on your deathbed, you don't say, I should have made more trains or cars or whatever it is, the paper clips. You say, I should have made more friends. I should have honored the friends and the relationships that I had. I should have been a better, if there are any regrets, they always say, in those movies and the memes and things we understand. Yeah, on our deathbed, we say, I wish I would have loved more, not made more things. That's what she's talking about here about the creation. You believe that the 6 things you made are your real creations. The sick things that you made. Like, maybe a zit or something. You believe that the sick things you made are your real creations because you believe the sick images that you perceive are the sons of God. Right? We have whole people that we categorize as sick, and we write them off. That's a problem. Only if you accept the fatherhood of God, Will you have anything? Because his fatherhood gave you everything. That is why to deny him is to deny yourself. Seeing others as sick is a real trigger for me for understanding how I'm going about limiting myself. So I would ask you to think about that in your own life, about when you see somebody that you feel sorry for, that you see somebody or something that is um, it shouldn't be. Somebody shouldn't have cancer. Somebody shouldn't have lost a leg in the war. Somebody else shouldn't have these mental diseases or something like mental disorders or something like that. Our opinions about this being a problem is really destructive. Course is offering us to. We can be there and relate to what God did create in them. That's all we're asked to do, because that's really how we want to be created too. I want to be treated. I want to be treated as the Son of God. I want to be treated as a holy, dignified, loving a Son of God, and I want to and practice treating others this way, in which we are one spark relating to another spark of God, not relating to the disease, not relating to the discomfort, not relating to the pain. I can be with the person and not agree with the pain. Now, that doesn't mean I need to tell, your pain is an illusion, so, therefore, you need to just get over it. I think that's kind of cruel. The God of sickness is the one that says, you must do these things that limit you, or you have to give up your dream, right? You have to give up your relationship with God. I know that for me, when I have been at my sickest, it sometimes is very difficult to pray. So, and I get consumed in the physical world. It's proof that it's like God doesn't exist and God's abandoned me because I feel bad. Again, feelings aren't the problem. Our opinions about the meaning we are creating about what this thing is in our bodies, the sniffly nose or glasses could be considered sickness, right? Because I'm not seeing. I have something wrong with my eye. Well, I'm just going to believe I have something wrong with my eye and go get glasses to make that correction. The Holy Spirit offers us the idea that we are whole and complete. So having glasses or not having glasses, being bald or not being bald, being what would be considered overweight or homosexual or those kind of things have all been sicknesses. They're all like outside of this perfection of a body that we want to see when we say somebody is healthy or somebody is spiritual. We want to say, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful. They're, the light really shines from them. What the really spiritual, amazing sort of spiritual people that I've known and that I've studied with, some of them are, beautiful in this traditional sense of healthy and beautiful. Some of them are less so as far as the cultural aspects and ideas of this are concerned. So, like Nisargadatta, he had practically no teeth in his mouth. Ramana Maharshi was a little old, was a little old like stick man. He let rats chew on his ankles and things like that. So, our cultural ideas of what spirituality looks like, our cultural ideas about what is sickness and and the meaning we have about the way our bodies are shaped, the way our bodies feel, the pain that we're experiencing, the suffering that we're experiencing, those ideas and the meaning we're trying to attach to those things are wrong, and they cause us suffering. And the ways in which we maintain those things are what the Course is offering us in chapter 10, is a way of understanding the way that we practice the rituals of worshiping the God of sickness. So I offer you this week to think about the ways in which we create and participate in the rituals of worshiping the God of sickness. We don't have to. We are whole and complete, and we can act on our whole incompleteness, and we are healed. And I would say the facts of our life begin to change. Healing takes place in our lives because we know that we are whole. And I believe that that is how the Jesus of the New Testament was able to heal people, because they said, oh, I'm sick, I can't do this, I can't walk, I have leprosy, I have the disease, I can't walk, all these things. And he didn't see it. He saw them as himself. He saw them as the child of God, and for a second they believed him more than they believed the story. So they were healed. And somebody that powerful is able to heal others because he doesn't believe in the sickness of others. So don't believe in the sickness of others, and don't believe in your own sickness. Um, and that is a way of taking apart your opinion about the opinion and the meaning that we have about the way our body feels and the way our body is shaped, and that we can be better in relationship with each other and practice those laws of God, the laws and the conversations and the prayers that we have about to bring our passions and our presence and our loving selves into the world. I am Reverend Glenn Morton Ganaway. I'm an integral mentor, and I'm grateful that you've chosen to spend an hour with us, an hour with me here on the Mighty Companions. Tune in next week. We'll be looking at chapter 11. I don't quite know how far we'll get. Haven't looked into it yet. But think about your place in the hero's journey, about when you get sick, about what this is, how it is for your good, and unpack the meaning that we have about it. Have a great week, and know that we are one, and we act like it.